Bet Daily Show, a special show for the US Open outrights, WTA, ATP, and the panel looks absolutely amazing. We have James from Tennis Pilot, we have Snize Master, and special guest, of course, like always, Whale Capper from Miami. How is Miami treating you, Whale?
Miami Beach is beautiful. I didn't know what to expect. They picked this great spot, the Diplomat Hotel, to put us all up. It has been so much fun. Tons of great people from the SBR community have come through and spent time hanging out with us. We've gotten to, go to the horse track and go to the Dolphins game last night. We're headed to a baseball game tonight. It's been nonstop fun since we've been here, and really they put on a heck of a show. So congratulations and thanks to the SBR family for putting this up.
Yeah, SBR better and better with every year that is passing. This time in Miami with Jimmy the Bag there. I think that you guys are having tons of fun, but I'm sure that you're also drinking. This is why I'm a little bit jealous because I was wishing I was there with you guys. But maybe next season, or maybe something for odds market next season. Next season before the season starts with football and some other stuff. James, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, thank you. Same old. Slight change of scenery for me as I'm down south, but just enjoying the sun. 26 degrees here today. My girlfriend's in Sicily and it's 27 degrees there, so can't really complain.
Don't tell me I'm 35 today Celsius where I'm staying, and it's very, very hot. But yeah, we can deal with that because we love summer, we love our beers, we love weekend is coming, and the parties all around. You are covering this week Winston Salem. How did you find that pre-US Open tournament? Will Capper was saying yesterday on Jimmy the Bag show in Miami that like no other year, it's a very, very entertaining tournament, and he loves it, and he loved the value on some of the matches.
Yeah, so I definitely find the pre-slam events to have more value generally than the slam events themselves. We actually had Carreño Buster was our remaining outright this week, who looks like he's struggling now against pair, which is a shame. But yeah, Winston-Salem, we saw it this week. You have a lot of the top seeds struggling. Same in the women's event. You have a much more open generally. So yeah, definitely enjoyed previewing that one.
How about you, Snize? Two absolutely brilliant articles previewing the women's and the men's draws. Also with a little bit of help from Will Capper. You took some of his draw tweets and we added them on your articles. But yeah, loved the content. I loved the breakdown, and I think that you passed yourself. I know from someone. A bird told me that you worked for the two articles 8 hours last night, but here you are. How are you? What do you expect from the US Open?
Happy to be here. The party don't stop. It's Friday. I've been in this US Open bubble all week. Final major of the year. You have to be excited if you like tennis, because after that, tennis will be dry for about 4 months. So you better enjoy it. And yeah, as you said, I've been up all night just pumping out articles, caught some sleep, and now I'm back at it again. So ready to go. I think this US Open will be very exciting. As always, big names, big stories on both tours. So yeah, just happy to get in it.
I heard World Cup yesterday. It was the best joke I ever heard from tennis. I died laughing for about 5 minutes. My wife was asking me, what you're laughing so much? She said about the French players, that was hilarious. He said that they have just one brain, and depends who needs it on that week, they pass it around. And obviously Benoit Paire took it this week, right? Right, well.
Benoit Paire's got it this week. It looks like he's about to close the deal here. But yeah, and actually, this could be the second time that Benoit Paire wins the title in the pre-slam week this year, if I'm not mistaken. I think he was pretty hot heading into French Open. He might have won either Lyon or Geneva. I can't remember what tournament he won, but Benoit Paire. Not, usually he's like one of the biggest mental cases on tour. Effectively, pretty awesome.
Yeah, looks like he got a brain this week from his French teammates there. We have James back. Sorry, James, I had to put you on the left side. But here we are, US Open 2019, a really exciting tournament. The draws are out already. We have some exciting matches in the first round. Most of all, the first time, Maria Sharapova, because we are going to the WTA side a little bit before the men's side. Maria Sharapova, Serena Williams, first time they meet at the US Open and in the first round of fixtures. The old school tennis between them, it will be there will be a lot of decibels there on court, I'm sure. But let's talk a little bit about the outrights. Who will win this tournament, and after that we will break it down quarter by quarter. So Serena Williams, she's the favorite to win this tournament at 6, followed by Simona Halep at 9, Ashley Barty at 11, Naomi Osaka at 12, Bianca Andreescu 15. Huge, great player with a great career in front. I think that she's absolutely incredible, and I love the fact that she's born Romanian and her parents are Romanian, and she moved in Canada when she was a little girl. Karolina Pliskova at 15.5, Madison Keys at 17, and so on. I will start with you, Well Capper, because you are our special guest, so we have to treat you nice. What are you thinking about this winner market, this outright market? Who will win this tournament? Do you have you placed your bets on some of the players already, or you are waiting for the first rounds? I don't know.
I have a couple of plays in on the women's side. I put them in pre-draw because I was feeling a little aggressive. I was, we'll roll the dice here. And it didn't work out great, actually, because the two kind of medium-priced gals that I kind of really had eyes for, one was Madison Keys, the other was Sophia Kenin. They ended up in the same, little subsection of the draw here. So only one of those two players can make it to the quarterfinal, which is really tough. And, I think it's probably Keys. I got in at Keys 18-1. I think it's kind of drifted down into the 14-1 range. Still think she has a good chance to come out of third quarter. And if not her, knock on wood, Sophia Kenin can get it done. And because I'm looking at a Kenin ticket at 30-1 and that Keys at 18-1 in my queue right here. As far as the very top of the market, is Serena a fair price favorite here?
No.
It looks short. It looks a little short. I guess I would say, I understand that she is the favorite and it adds up to me. But this is a wide open tournament on the women's side. I think there are legitimately 15 women who have a reasonable argument that they can win this. And, the difference between 1 and 15 is not as great as the odds would suggest between Serena and 30-40-1.
We have a lot of friends with us. Natalie is on chat with us. Big Ragu, Dave Betts, Adam Booth, our very good friend Adam with esports and NHL, Aspire to Elite. Very, very good people. Most of all, they are our friends and they are with us all season long. Thank you for watching us. Very interesting. Very interesting draw on the women's side. What do you think is nice about this draw?
So just a quick little shout out. I have written 3 articles on the draws. I wrote 1 pre-draw. I put in 4 outrights there, and then I wrote another 2 today post-draw and put in another 4 outrights there. So looking at the draw, we can start with the women's. So yeah. The women's draw is, as per usual, quite wide open. Serena, I agree with Whale there, looks very short, she is one of the greatest players to ever grace the court, and she's still chasing that Margaret Court 24th major title
I don't think that
win.
she will get it.
But yeah, she's lost now 3 consecutive Grand Slam finals on the spin, and 4 finals in total. And the problem with Serena Williams, backing her as a favorite, is that one, she has struggled to stay fit. She's played only 27 matches all year. Over half of them have come in the majors. And 2, nerves. As she's gotten older, nerves have become apparent in the big moments and suffocating her game a bit. She hasn't been able to execute. In fact, she hasn't even taken a set in either of those finals she's lost. She's gotten absolutely demolished. So those 2 factors have me way off backing Serena Williams. Another favorite is Simona Halep. She's actually been bounced in the first round 2 years in a row. I don't think it happens this year, but she has a pretty tough draw. Moving along, we have Ashley Barty as a favorite, who hasn't looked quite right post Wimbledon. She struggled a bit with fitness and just hasn't had the same level of tennis as we've seen from her earlier this year. So yeah, the favorites don't really appeal to me. What I have done is, as well, did take a shot with Madison Keys. She looked incredible in Cincinnati last week, taking the title. And to her powerful game, she's added a bit of a controlled aggression, because previously she was a bit of an unforced error machine when things weren't going her way. But she literally reeled in that control and just dominates the points, move people from side to side. And she's a 2018 semifinalist, a 2017 finalist. So I think she can go well here. I got her at 16-1.
Yeah, the thing is that she has an easy quarter, in my opinion. Not many players on her quarter can put her a lot of problems. Maybe Sofia Kenin, if she's playing at her top level there. Pliskova, maybe if she's serving well. But yeah, Madison Keys looked very, very good. That's where I wanted to arrive a little bit at quarters bets. James, we have quarter 1, Naomi Osaka, Kiki Bertens, Arina Sabalenka, Belinda Bencic. But me, I don't understand why Cory Gauff is priced lower than Belinda Bencic. She's more favorite to win that quarter than Belinda Bencic, Azarenka, Vekic, Kontaveit, and so on. Yes, I think that she passed herself and she will have a great career in front. But I don't think that her experience will. I think that her experience will count here, and I don't think that she will win this quarter. What do you say? James.
Oh, hi. Sorry. Yeah, so I would agree. Yeah, sorry, the connection's pretty bad for me. I don't know if that's me. But
yes,
I'm missing half of it. I think what you're talking about is the being that kind of price is that it does build in a hell of a lot of upside. And as you say, she has upside. I wouldn't want to be betting against her for the next 2-3 years. But yeah, I mean, I think with Bencic, the obvious problem is injury concerns. And Bencic would be someone for me, going back to the quarters, who I would probably, I would say she's quite a decent bet, but I would probably want to wait for the first round. Because if she can get through that first round and looks fit, I very much doubt the bookies will react quick enough to catch her there. So yeah, I would agree. I don't think that's a quarter that she'll likely be winning.
Do you have any favorite plays from the quarters as we are looking them right now? Because the prices are really good, and we're talking about top players. Second quarter, Simona Halep to win it at 3.25, or Bianca Andreescu to win it at 5.5.
Yeah.
So I probably that will be the match of who will decide who will win the quarter. Which will decide who will win the quarter. So if you put 1 unit on both of them, you would go 1 unit, at least 1 unit up, if not 3.5.
Andreescu, that was going to be my tip. I'm not outright. I find it a little bit more difficult at the prices, although she keeps defying expectations in terms of the prices. Obviously, back to earlier this year, and she did very well. So I wouldn't be surprised if she went well. And I think the bet for me there was to take a chance on Halep still not being quite 100%. As Snize said, she struggled here. So, yeah, I quite liked Andreescu at 5.5 at the US Open to win that quarter. And then in the third quarter, I'm hugely interested in, as you say, it's fairly open, but Keys and Pliskova and Kenin probably the ones with the best shot. I wouldn't want to be betting on Svitolina, but I can't really see a standout player other than the top of the field in that quarter. And then in the fourth quarter, again, I would probably expect Serena to be winning that, even with her dodgy form at the minute. I just don't really see anyone who's that likely to push her. The only person who did stand out to me a little bit was Sakari at 29, just because I think she's been playing very well, but probably wouldn't want to get involved with that quarter.
Yeah,
personally.
she's a fighter, but I don't know how much fighter she is in the end at this level. Well, Kapor, do you have any favorite tips for the quarters? Because you always bet on the outright markets, but you always have the quarters bets that most of the time are winners, you know?
Yeah. So the first quarter is by far the toughest for me to get a read on because an informed Osaka takes this quarter pretty easily. But we have not really seen much of her since, really since the spring that suggests she's going to be, the same player we saw here last year. She continually kind of has just some random notions. I don't know what's going on with her confidence, and that opens the door for somebody to steal this first quarter. And my gut read was Bencic is underpriced here. She should be a little bit closer to the top of the market. I think Corey Goff at whatever number you're seeing, 11, 12, that's like that should reasonably be more like 20 or 30 to 1.
Exactly.
I mean, she could lose her opening match. There's a long way for her to go to win this quarter, and the pressure is going to be on after what she did in Wimbledon. I think you can pretty much rule out Kiki Bertens here. I would be surprised if she's a factor at all in the first quarter. And so I'm kind of looking down the list here a little bit. I'm interested to hear Snize's defense of, I know he likes Donna Vekic here in the first, and I could see that. Right. But right now, the way I look at the prices and the potential for, where the value exists, I do think Bencic at 12 to 1 makes a ton of sense in this first quarter as a small lotto ticket.
Okay, and the third one, Karolina Pliskova, Madison Keys. You said Madison Keys is your favorite to go from there. Halep, Andreescu. You said Andreescu, right?
No, I'm on Halep here, and I can't help myself. I mean, I can't help myself. Simona Halep and I have a pretty special relationship. The biggest tennis bet I won in my life was Halep winning the French Open 2 years ago. And I had a Wimbledon, which came through at like 15 to 1, which was awesome. So, I think I look at Halep's game and the way it is when it's on. And she is so freaking tough when she is playing her, peak top defense. And the general kind of slower hardcore conditions we're expecting here, I think lend themselves to her putting on a pretty special show. I think the fact that she's performed poorly here in the past is mostly due to just some unfortunate draws, and the fact that I remember a couple of years, like she was just gassed. Like she went deep into tournaments all leading up to the US Open. So she'd get there round 1 and she was just on fumes. I think she's a little bit more rested. We haven't seen her really go, full throttle since her Wimbledon title. And so I think Simona Halep actually comes out of the top half of this draw and is our finalist. I know Andrea is a nice price. I know she's a nice story. People are kind of, real warm on her kind of making the leap into clearly top 10 women on tour. But without really having ever seen her get it done in a slam setting, I need to see it at least once before I really believe we're talking about a semifinalist here. So Andreescu, I think, is eating up a ton of the market in that second quarter there. And I think Halep even though it's not a great price at plus 150, I'm looking at here. I think maybe Halep to the final is the better look because somebody's going
Plus 150. Only 2.5. I have
to get to the final.
3.25, the best odds on the market right now for Halep.
I like that.
Where are you looking at that, Alex?
Skybet.
Skybet. Yeah, I saw there was on the men's side there were a couple of these. So with Team, for example, Live went like 3.5 or something like that, and then Skybet went 5.5. So it's worth looking for anyone who's watching this. There's definitely going to be a few of those. I mean, they're just wrong from the rest of the market. I saw Federer at 2.1, I think, to win his quarter as well.
Snize, about the conditions, about the US Open conditions, who do you think that they will favor on the women's side and why?
Yeah, so US Open is traditionally a very hot and a very humid tournament. And what humidity does with the human body is that it makes it more difficult for sweat to evaporate. The body has to work harder to cool down, which makes a lot of players describe the conditions as heavy. So it takes a high physical toll, which means that the physical part of things will be very important to be successful during this week. And the problem that I have is that most players who I would normally put down as the creme of the crop when it comes to the physicality, such as Simona Halep, she has injury doubts, but definitely would favor Halep. She's a player that's a fantastic counterpuncher. I think Belinda Bencic is another player that should relish these conditions. So yeah, those are the two that come to mind immediately as to who these conditions favor.
Okay, top tip from the outright markets from the women's side. I will start with you, James, and after that, I want 2 matches from the first round from each for the women's side, and after that, we'll go straight on the men's side because there is more to talk there, and we just have 1 hour at our disposal. I know that I can talk with you guys for 3-4 hours only about the US Open first round and outright, but unfortunately, we don't have the time. And we will be back, of course, next week with second round, third round, and so on. We will announce it on the social media. So please, James, best top tip from the outright markets. You can include the quarters, you can include the winner. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. So probably my top one would be Bencic. If she wins the first round, she'll be, I would assume, around 9-1, something like that, after the first round. If she's fine getting through that, then that one, and also Andreescu to win that quarter. I can completely see the point about Halep, and as you say, Alex, you could just back both. But yeah, I think for me, Andreescu is the obvious pick there still.
Snize, favorite pick?
Yeah, so I'm on Bianca Andreescu outright. Got her at 16-1. I'm on her to win her quarter. I disagree with Whale. Andreescu has the best hardcourt winning percentage on the entire tour. Over the last 12 months. It's up in the 90% at the moment. She's 7-0, perfect unblemished record versus top 10 opponents. So yeah, I think she wins that quarter. I like Belinda Bencic, just as James said, to win her quarter. The problem is she retired with a left foot injury in Cincinnati. If she's fit after the first match, I will be getting on her to win that quarter. In the third quarter, I think Keys comes through, but a few candidates a bit tricky. No bet there. And in the fourth quarter, Serena Williams should be coming through, but the price isn't appealing enough to bet.
Okay, I will agree totally with Whale Capper here. I'm going with Simona till Miami and back in Romania. I don't have a problem to do that. Whale Capper, top tip from the women's outright markets.
So my top tips, I got the, I guess I like Halep to make the final is probably my favorite look across all the markets. I took a flyer on Bencic at 12-1 to win the first quarter. On the bottom half, I like a Serena Keys semifinal, and I think Serena makes the final. But it could be Keys. I'm pulling for Keys. I'm still holding an 18-1 ticket, but the way that the draw shook out, I don't feel great about that really anymore. So I would love to see Keys have the final for me. Serena Halep final seems likely. And then there's one real value long shot that I'm not sure why it hasn't really taken up a little bit more momentum, hasn't picked up a little more steam. A player that plays extremely well, way above her level in the U.S. and has really impressed in a past couple of just some random spots over the past, and she's 200 to 1. And this is Danielle Collins-Rose. I know that her form has been up and down this year, but if you're going to give me 200 to 1 for someone who legitimately their performance raises on the biggest stage, especially on U.S. Tennis, I'm into that. And she's in a little section with Waz, who I think is fadeable right now. So DRC, Danielle Collins-Rose, whatever her name is, at 200 to 1 worth a flyer.
Tough match against Herzog, Polona Herzog in the first round.
She's got tough matches the whole way, but she was a different player when she's got the U.S. crowd behind her. I think she's going to be tough.
Wozniacki in the second round, as predicted. Andreescu in the third round. So, yeah, very tough for her.
Well, here's the thing about
let me
kind of circle
200
back.
to 1.
Let me circle back on the Andreescu thing real quick, because you're right, Snize, you're right. Like, she's been incredible on hard courts, especially. And the problem is the farthest she's ever made it in a slam is the second round. She just doesn't have the experience when the level is this high. You know, she's going to be sitting around a lot waiting for the next match. The pressure's turned up a little bit because she just won, you know, a premier event. So all the kind of the brew here is, yeah, she may make a run here. Yeah, but but this is still going to be, it's rare to see a tennis player make the leap from having not really ever put together established winning at the Grand Slam level and then all of a sudden just, make a semifinal.
Yeah.
It could happen. It's just it doesn't look priced. She just has never made it past the second round.
I'm not saying that she will not win that quarter, but I'm saying that she will not win the tournament. I think that she doesn't. Okay, she was unbelievable in the first part of the season. After that, she got injured. Now she's at the top level again. But I still think that it's not time for her. It's not the correct time for her to win a Grand Slam. Dave Betts is saying, "Lol, calm down, fellas. I didn't realize tennis was so aggressive." And Adam is saying to him, "You should watch a Kyrgios match." Yeah, you should watch a Kyrgios match.
On that point, though, Alex,
not when he's winning, when he's losing.
Yeah, on that point, though, Alex, I think it's you're never going to feel like someone at 200 to 1 is going to win it.
Yeah.
I've tipped several people, 200 or more on my own service, and you sometimes get messages from people saying, "Why are you throwing away your money?" And I just think it's a different mindset. You have to get into the mindset of thinking, even though I just don't think this is going to win, I objectively think the price is just way too good. And I quite like that, actually. I quite like the idea of that bet, especially because
you can always cash out, after the first, second round, depending on who she will get next, the price will go down, So you will be, if she wins the first match, you will anyway be in profit if you want to cash out,
And it's also worth noticing that Danielle Rose Collins actually shocked the world and went to the semifinals at the Australian Open earlier this year, so she can do it on the big stage, and now it's at home too. So definitely not a bad look there.
Yeah, 200 to 1, a bit worth $10, if to be honest. Yeah, but after that, after 2 rounds, she might get 120, and look, I doubled my money, almost. Yeah, that is the correct way of thinking if you want to bet such a high price. Well, Capper, very interesting matches in the first round. Do you have some 2 favorite bets? I know that you don't like to bet the first round usually, so but maybe you changed your mind because we have Sharapova Serena, because we have Kerber versus Mladenovic, another interesting match. I think that we have some good matches. Kenan versus Coco won the Wake. Yeah, you don't have nothing.
Well, I fill out a bracket every year, and there was a couple of spots where I thought the wrong woman was favored, but it's really tough because I don't follow the women's tour closely enough to know players 64 to 128. I just don't know their games well enough really to make confident plays. So I'm gonna kind of do some learning along the way and look for opportunities when something's obviously a bust. But right now, I don't see anything that I have high confidence in.
Oh, me, I will play one unit, just this at the first view. Petkovic to beat Buzărnescu at 1.8 right now, the best price on the market with Betfair. So Petkovic, take it from now because I'm sure that the odds will drop till the start of the match on Monday. Buzărnescu nowhere this season. I'm sure that she will think to retire next season, something, I don't know. Or either she will play the small tournaments, either she will retire forever, because that's not the way to perform this season. Anyways, Snize, do you have 2 top tips from the first round?
Yeah, so we have a lot of interesting matches, as you said. A blockbuster matchup that everyone's talking about. Serena Williams, Maria Sharapova, the battle of grunts and screaming, as Alex would say. Probably going to be very annoyed at Sharapova during that match. Honestly, not much in that. I think Serena wins. She's on an 18-match winning streak against Sharapova, so people are probably hyping it up too much. I think it's going to be a pretty easy win there. The matches I've focused on are a bit more low-key, and actually one of the bets you just mentioned, Alex, is the one I like too. Andrea Petkovic to win at 1.8 versus Mihaela Buzărnescu. So yeah, Petkovic is a German veteran. She's plugging along on the tour. She hasn't had the greatest year with a 17-22 stat line here. She's still very capable. The former world number 9 has played some decent tennis, and she's already off 2 upset wins here over Alice Cornet and Shuai Shang during this recent hardcourt swing here. Also pushed the super in-form Camila Giorgi to a third set tiebreak in New York.
From all points of view. She's informed from all points of view, you know? Camila
Indeed.
Giorgi. This is why I used the blurb on Winston Salem article on Odds Market today of James. It's Camila Giorgi on the top page there, you know.
Indeed. So yeah, she pushed her really hard. And so she's been playing some decent tennis. Mihaela Buzărnescu, she's just falling off a cliff right now. She had a career best year last year. She won her maiden title, broke into the top 20 at 30 years of age. But then the week after that title in San Jose, she suffered an absolutely horrible ankle injury, and she's never been the same player since. She's looked devoid of confidence. She's playing scared. She's coming in with a woeful 12-27 record on the year. And yeah, she's had some good matches, like against Halep at Wimbledon, but those are far and few in between. And I definitely have to side with Petkovic to win there.
When you meet Simona Halep or Serena Williams, it's like when you meet Barcelona. You give everything, you know, on that match. When you play a much smaller team or a player talking about tennis, you are not at the top level. This is why I think that is the same thing happening in tennis.
Yeah. So for my second bet here, also going with a look that Whale has been talking about, and it is Danielle Rose Collins. As we talked about here, she shocked the world in making the Australian Open semifinal. She defeated Angelique Kerber along the way to that. We haven't seen much of her since, but she's faced a lot of tough opponents in early rounds. So it's not that surprising that she's been knocked out early. She's back to her favored outdoor hard courts, where she's on a 82-54 career record. And when we return here to home, so I expect the 25-year-old to relish this opportunity to get past the first round here for the first time. She's run into some really tough opponents in her previous first-round matchups, and she will really look forward to this opportunity here. Polona Herzog, she's predominantly a clay court player, and she's only been past the first round here twice in 11 attempts in her career. So not really a player that usually goes deep. She hosts a losing 102-120 career record on the surface, and expect the surface advantage, the home advantage, to be decisive here. So Collins to win is priced at 1.67 right now.
Okay, thank you. James, 1-2 bets from the first round. Be quick, be faster, please.
Okay, so Serena's won 14 sets in a row against Sharapova, and you can get that at even money. I think 1.95 maybe. So I'm fine taking a chance on that. Serena 2-love against Sharapova. It probably will be kind of tight, but I just would expect her to win that and probably comfortably. And the second one, so that can be my main bet. The second one that I had some interest in was An against Kuznetsova. Again, someone who's made us some money fairly recently, and the main reason for the bet being that An is drifting. She opened at 4, and I think because of Kuznetsova's great run, she's now up to 5. I think 4 was fine. So at 5, anything over 5, I think she's worth a small play.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. Okay, that's it from the women's side. We had outrights, we had the first round matches, but we are going to the WTA side on the men's side, where I don't know. I think that Daniel Medvedev, who won the most matches this year in the tournament, in the WTA, in the ATP tour. I think that he's very, very impressive. I watched him, and I talked with the guys, with James and Snize, about him for the last, I don't know, 3-4 weeks. He keeps impressing. Will Copper, what do you think about this Medvedev guy? What do you think about his draw? And do you think that he's a good shot to be taken, or do you think that Rafa Nadal with a favorable draw there can go all the way to make the final? Rafa Nadal to reach the final right now is priced at 2.38, 2.67, depending the bookie that you have.
Yeah, men's draw is interesting. I guess I'll start with Medvedev because, there's a tendency to want something different to happen than what we've seen happen over and over and over and over again, which is that there are only 3 people with a reasonable shot to win a slam, which is freaking nuts. But where we are in men's tennis right now. And, I would say that, as I run a model, I'm giving historical weight to how you perform in a Grand Slam setting. I'm getting almost 99% of my expectation here is that Djokovic, Nadal, or Federer wins this tournament. A guy like Medvedev, he's clearly the future. At least in terms of being a guy in the next 10 years who's going to be threatening, and he'll break through eventually. But when he has his breakthrough, I will be shocked if it's at the U.S. Open, because his game much, much more compatible for the conditions in Australia and at Wimbledon. And, the fact that it's a little bit slower here, the fact that he has these big, ground straight, like the fact that his serve is so important, and take a little bit of the heat off it. He's a little bit less effective, a little more vulnerable, more likelihood of playing tie breaks when he's against the top tier components. Tie breaks are a little bit less, certain, a little more uncertainty. So I think all said, Medvedev is not set up to do well at this particular tournament. He looked great in Cincinnati, where the conditions were quite a bit faster. And I would say, keep an eye out for him next season in Australia or at Wimbledon, but not here at the U.S. Open. Which leaves us to, if not Djokovic, if not Nadal, then who? And I think the short answer is that this is a pretty straightforward. Djokovic, Nadal looks like the most likely and high likelihood final that we're going to see here. I have Federer pretty low right now in his rating. Like, if you look at the arc of Federer's rating in my model over the last 3 years, he definitely peaked last summer he won Wimbledon, and it's been kind of trending downwards.
Mm-hmm.
Right now he's about as low as I've seen in a while. I think the hangover that comes along with losing in 5 sets to the Wimbledon final to Djokovic is still kind of lingering, and to a degree his form is not great. He's vulnerable. He may not make the semifinals, and if he does make the semifinals, what does he get? He gets to likely play Djokovic, so that's trouble. And all this has kind of led me to, well, is there value on Nadal? The minute we saw that, before the draw came out, I was expecting Federer and Nadal would be set up for a semifinal clash. And then the draw comes out, lo and behold, Nadal's the only one of the big 3 that's on the bottom. His path to the final goes through Dominic Thiem, who's not necessarily in great health right now and never really put it together on hard court, other than a couple of small spurts here, Indian Wells, and a nice run last year, which ended at the hands of Nadal. So I would say Nadal has a very clear path here to the final. When the draw came out, there were some stale lines up, and I grabbed 4-1 at a couple of shops, and I think that's a fair price. And we can kind of boil we could probably handicap the entire tournament in 5 minutes here. Nadal and Djokovic in the final, who wins this, match. And, it's going to be during the day. It's going to be a little warmer conditions. We know that, plays into what Nadal likes to, how he likes to play. A little bit slower conditions. It could play more like clay instead of like what we saw at the Australian Open final where he just got romped. So Nadal has a puncher's chance against a guy like Djokovic in the final if his path is easier and Djokovic has to eliminate some of the more tough competition on his way to the final. You could see a pretty 50-50 match in the final. So I'll take Nadal at 4-1 as my favorite look in the entire US Open.
You're not worried, Tomorino Tomor on the chat is saying Djokovic has been bothered by the heat. We saw that in the Olympics. I think the condition will be an issue for him at the US Open.
It's true that he has been bothered by the heat in the past, but he had some transformation. I don't want to say I know exactly what's going on with him, but he had some transformation where he figured out, what he needs to be doing from an eat, sleep, rest standpoint, or better in the heat. I would expect that almost all of his matches leading up to the final, which I think will be a day match on Sunday of the second week, all of his matches will be prime time, center court. He'll have, the roof closed if it's raining. He's not going to be exposed to the worst of it.
Yeah.
A lot of the other guys who aren't in the prime time, slot, they're going to be out there in the sun getting their asses handed to them.
Novak's also won however many Australian Opens. I mean, it seems a little bit. I think he's fine with heat, as you say. I think it's probably more him who was the issue at the time.
Yeah, I think that's true.
But James, if you started, okay, we have the first quarter, second quarter, and fourth quarter packed. Okay, we know the winners. We have value on the third quarter. We have Tsitsipas at 3.5. We have Thiem 3.75. Felix Aliciem at 7. Roberto Bautista Agut at 7. And after that, we have a huge drop also from there. Nick Kyrgios 17, Gael Monfils 21, Denis Shapovalov 21. Rublev also 29. If you want, if you like Rublev to win the third quarter, there. Matteo Berrettini. You guys were talking a lot about Matteo Berrettini in the last couple of months. He is priced at 41. So James, any take on that quarter?
Yeah. So again, I'm at the point that I made earlier. I think several bookies. So this is true of both Tsitsipas and Thiem. They're being priced up at something like 3.5 with some of the bookies. And then I think Tsitsipas was even as long as about 6 or 7 to 1. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's something in that region. And Thiem is also 4 to 1. So I would say, again, if you're going to get involved, make sure that you've got a decent number of bookies. Take those good prices. They're clearly, I don't know why they're pricing them so strangely. So I had 2 for this quarter. The first one, which I think Snize tipped as well, actually, in the outright preview, was Thiem. I think there's a couple of points I want to push back on a little bit with the Nadal thing. I think Nadal will make the final. I think Thiem probably is the biggest threat. Obviously, we have slight concerns about his health, although my strong guess, I think, would be that was probably just a cold or some sort of kind of a fairly temporary illness. I would hope he'd be fine going into this, but we never know. So the second thing is Nadal did beat him last year, but he beat him 7-6 in a third set, and he got bageled in the first set. Thiem's also, he's said himself that Nadal's the player I think that he likes playing the most out of the big guys. He's the player that he's had probably the most success against those top guys. So I think in the bottom half, that would be the main concern for me. We can get Djokovic and Nadal to make the final at 3.75. That does still feel like it will happen. So at 3.75, that's probably worth a bet, but I wouldn't rule Thiem out. And so he would be my first bet in that quarter at 4 to 1 is Thiem. The second one is the person you literally just mentioned, which is Rublev, 28 to 1. This one's slightly more difficult, and this is probably something I would go for half stakes on as opposed to a full stake, because I'm slightly reading between the lines here with Rublev. He was very flattered in beating Federer, but he gave nothing away on the day. And he's also shown a level recently, pretty much ever since playing Hamburg and going deep in Hamburg. He's shown a level which I actually think is very much up there in that quarter, I think he has every chance of causing an upset if he manages to play at that top level that he's been showing recently. He's had a lot of success in the past in the slams, and also again, Bet365 have it at 29. I believe most bookies have it about 17. So make sure you get the best price if you are going to follow that suggestion.
Yeah, it's very, very crazy how name the finalists. You have Djokovic and Rafa Nadal at 3.25 with some bookies, 3.75 with others, and to win the women's side, you have Serena at 4.5. You know, this is unbelievable difference on price from between the WTA and the ATP Tour, where we already know who will win. Like World Cup or set 99%, either Nadal, either Djokovic, either Federer. But I think that is Nadal between Nadal and Djokovic also. Snize, what do you think about this third quarter? Or do you have a huge upset coming on from the other three quarters?
Yeah, so as opposed to the women's, the men's is much more dominated by the big names. We've had 7 first-time winners, or not 7 first-time, but 7 different winners in the last 72 years on WTA. Whereas the men's has been, I think 12 of the last 15 have been the big 3. As Whale of James have said, the men's is pretty straightforward. We have 3 names that are just superior to everyone else, really. Djokovic has won 3 out of the last 4 majors, only exception being, of course, Nadal's home at Roland Garros. The King of Clay won that. But yeah, looking at the draw, Djokovic has a few tough matchups there. I don't really agree with what Wales said there about Medvedev. The concern is obviously, can he perform at the Grand Slam level? But the conditions should suit him because he actually employs an extremely defensive game, much more so than one would think with his big size and big ground strokes. He usually wins his matches by grinding the lesser opponents down, by unyielding consistency from the baseline. And he can also put a lot of pace on the ball, stepping into it and hitting it flat. So I think he should do quite well here. The likely matchup in the quarterfinals would be Djokovic, Medvedev for me. I think Djokovic still wins, but I am on Medvedev outright. Got him at 16-1. If Djokovic for some reason should fall, I think it will be in that quarterfinal versus Medvedev. If not, he's a likely titleist. In the second quarter, there's no one to challenge Roger Federer at all. The biggest competitors would be Kei Nishikori, who's been woeful, sick, injured, far past his best. Borna Coric also coming off a back injury since Halle hasn't been good, and those are really the big names. Pablo Carreño Busta, I mean, you have Grigor Dimitrov, but it's just really nothing that sticks out. So I bet Federer quite heavily there to win his second quarter. In the third quarter, I do like the look of Dominic Thiem. Tsitsipas has been eliminated in 4 of his 6 first-round matches. Actually lost in the first round of Wimbledon to Thomas Fabiano. Huge upset there. Hasn't been in the greatest of shape. I do like that look on Rublev. If he can sustain his form, he's a good look to win this quarter. But I like Thiem's evolution on hard courts. I think that the Indian Masters title and making the quarterfinals here, bowing out to Nadal in a 5-set thriller, best match of the tournament, speaks to him here. The surface here is slowing down a bit as he'll play predominantly during night matches. The humidity will slow and the temperature will slow the courts down considerably and make the ball bounce a lot higher, which favors Thiem's game. So I definitely think he's a good look to win the quarter, and I bet him at 3.5 in article and 3.75 personally. In the fourth quarter, it's tough to look past Rafa Nadal. I think he'll face Karen Khachanov, the Russian, in the quarterfinal, who actually pushed him hard last year. But I think that Nadal, fit and firing with 2 weeks off post Montreal title, should be able to win that. Really, no one else to speak of. We don't have Alexander Zverev, who you do well to oppose as soon as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And Federer at 1.9 on his quarter, and after that we have David Goffin at 8, Kei Nishikori at 8, Milos Raonic at 8. Tomorino Tomor is saying that it's too bad that Del Potro is out. He is always fun to watch. Yes, absolutely. I'm a huge Del Potro fan, but unfortunately, I don't know when he will come back, if he will come back, I don't know exactly what to take from his conditions right now, his health and stuff like that. Well, Capper, so I heard you about the outrights. Do you think that you can tell us something about the first round bets, which you don't normally bet?
Yeah, well, actually, and before we even get there, I didn't really I'm curious if you guys know that if you've seen a price on this, because the couple of books that I do my line shopping, I haven't seen it come up yet, but you guys have more access to some of the international books. Do you have a price for the exact result in the final? Djokovic defeats Nadal?
No.
That isn't up yet?
No.
No.
Okay, well, I'm looking for that.
No, nowhere.
I would like to get that bet down, because I think it's pretty likely that that's the way the final goes. Not that's the outcome of the final, but that the final will be Djokovic Nadal, and that it will be lined heavily in favor of Djokovic. He'll probably be in the minus, I don't know, 200 range after what Djokovic did to Nadal at the Australian Open final. I think people will be, and after what he did to Federer in the Wimbledon final, I think people will be eager to back him on the money line in that final. So I would like to get ahead of that curve there and get a plus money price on Djokovic to beat Nadal, because Nadal into the final is that's a really good bet. I really don't see anyone from the quarter four challenging him. And yeah, your points about team playing him tight were very valid. I'll just note that the way team fell apart in the French Open final, he really has kind of lost his. It looked to me like it's going to take him a couple of good performances, a couple of wins against Nadal before he's back in it mentally, in terms of thinking he can win, just because of the way that all went down at the end there. And so I would be I would be cautious about expecting team to give Nadal as great a test as we saw last year. And in fact, I think there's some value in the third quarter outside of team. Monfils has a shot, RBA has a shot, and those guys are in the 7-1, 11-1 range. So should be a fun part of the draw to watch. As far as the first round matchups go, I had Rublev circled against Tsitsipas to come away with an upset there. I'm cool on Tsitsipas's form in his game right now. It seems like, the fact that he pushed his limits end of last season and then rode that into a really hot first half of this year, he's kind of on fumes at this point, and he's going to need to, regroup in the off season before we see his top stuff again. So I like that look a lot, because Rublev has been playing well, although it looks like he may drop this match to Shapovalov today. Aside from that, there were a couple other pretty interesting looking spots to get an upset. I like Guido Pella as a dog against Pablo Carreño Busta. Busta has played longer into this Winston-Salem tournament than I think he would have liked, as far as getting up to New York, getting acclimated, and being fresh. So I think Guido Pella is going to get him there, and it's a little plus money dog spot. Also, I think Grigor Dimitrov is very much on my radar to be faded. I haven't exactly decided how to go about this yet. But Seppi is a good 5-set player. He's not, anywhere close to as good as he was in years past, when he's made some deep runs at like the Australian Open and some of the other slams. But when it comes to best of 5, he's always in it. And so he's sitting there right now at about 4.0 or plus 300 on the money line. So I'm going to find some way to fade Dimitrov in this spot, because I just
1.7 for over 3.5 sets in the match. Andrea Seppi versus
1.7. Yeah, that's pretty reasonable, because Dimitrov, even if he wins the match, he does do silly. He has mental lapses. He'll drop a set. He'll do something he'll lose a tie.
Tsitsipas Rublev clash in the first rounder.
Yeah, that's the best match by far in round one. There's no close second. And Rublev has every reason to be given a puncher's chance in that one at a dog price.
Okay, James, do you have any favorite spot from the first round? I think that we are losing you. Okay, you're back. So do you have any favorite tip from the first round? Snize, go on.
Okay, we lost James there. So for the first round matches, I have looked at 2 of them, and both of them are actually max positions I've taken here. I'm going heavy, hard and heavy on these first round matchups. One is Daniil Medvedev. He's going to be facing Prajnesh Gunneswaran, the Indian player. He's a fringe top 100 player, plays primarily on a hard court. However, with the new world number 5 Medvedev coming into town, he's toast. The Russian is the next big thing right now to me. After the big 3, with the form he's displayed, 3 consecutive finals over this North American hard court swing here leading up to the tournament. And he's been absolutely, if you look at his results, he's been demolishing anyone who isn't absolutely elite. He's winning by, in best of 3 set matches, he's winning by 7, 8, 9 games. And yeah, the goal for class is apparent here. Medvedev's sitting over 10% higher in the whole break stats and a whopping 450 points higher in the hardcore ELO ratings. If you look at a model, that would give Medvedev about a 93% win rate in this matchup. I expect nothing less than a complete beatdown, and we're getting a line of -9.5 here. So we would need something in style with 6-3, 6-3, 6-2 for this to cash. I think he does that without any problem. And at 1.83, that is a max bet for me. Looking at my other bet, it's another big player, and it's going to be Rafael Nadal. He faces John Millman in the first round, the Aussie, who shockingly upset Federer in a very notable match in high humidity last year at US Open.
I wanted to ask you about that. You're giving plus Asian handicap to Millman or minus to Nadal?
Minus to Nadal is the play. So yeah, Millman
minus a lot.
Yeah, minus a lot. Millman just has a horrendous matchup against Nadal. He doesn't really have any pronounced weapons. He mostly lives on being consistent from the baseline, his grit, his fighting spirit, getting to balls. The problem is Nadal does that a whole lot better. He doesn't have the potential to outgrind or outlast the great Spaniard. The loopy topspin shots give him plenty of trouble, and in the pairs only meeting after 2017 Wimbledon, on grass that is, which should be a surface that's not as favored to Nadal as hard courts are. Nadal won 6-1, 6-3, 6-2, and it's very hard not seeing a similar outcome in this match. Millman will certainly be very, very upset with drawing Nadal in the first round when he has to defend quarterfinal points, and it's a bit demoralizing for him. He's currently deep in the Winston-Salem draw. I think he just lost a tight 3-setter against Steve Johnson, so he doesn't have the ideal preparation coming into this tournament either, whilst Nadal has been prepping for 2 weeks. So max stakes, Nadal minus 9.5 games, 1.71.
Okay, James, you are back. Shapovalov or Alisiem, another clash of the first round. Shapovalov favorite there at 1.77. Ogier Alisiem at underdog at 2.1 there, plus 110.
Yeah, I mean, you want me to suggest on that match?
Suggest on that match, plus if you have the others, your top matches. Talk a little bit about this one if you like.
Okay, I mean, I would say that it's a difficult one because I would have said Ogier Alisiem probably anything but a week ago at those prices. But Shapovalov has actually been very, very solid this week. And I feel like he's kind of found his rhythm. And when he finds his rhythm, he's very dangerous. He's the kind of player that can have, several months of just getting better and better and better. He has very much momentum player. So I probably wouldn't be touching that match because I think that's about right. And as I say, before this week, I would have disagreed with him being the favorite there. But from what I've seen in Winston-Salem, I think Shapovalov is ready. I think he'll give that. I think he'll be, very, very good in that match compared to how he's been the rest of the year. Okay, so in terms of the plays that I wanted to have, the first one, probably my favorite one, is Yari at anything over 3.75 against Raonic. You can get, I think, 4 with at least some of the books. Very simple. Yari's consistently been a player who's really pushed the top guys. Especially the big serving players, because he's also very tall with a massive serve, and he can very much live with them from the baseline. And Raonic has been dreadful all year, so it's kind of just following the obvious trends here. I can see why it's priced like that. It's basically based on longer term data, doesn't take into account kind of like the matchup or how they're actually going to play against each other. But for me, yeah, I think Jari is going to look a lot shorter than that on the day. I would have him much closer to 3, maybe 3.25 than 4. And then the second one was Klijan against Cilic. It's kind of similar situation in the sense that Klijan is a player that's given the top players problems for his entire career. He's always managed to, well, not always, sometimes he can be dreadful, but he's generally managed to give them a good fight. He has the right kind of game for it, very heavy hitting. He'll probably prefer the heavier conditions. He tends to like to be able to really hit through the ball. And Cilic is not someone he's had any success against. And, you know, he's 6-1 in this match, so he probably won't again. But based on Cilic's form this year, I really can't see why he's that short against a very, very capable player in Klijan. So either I would personally just take the win because I'm not exactly sure about how I think that will play out, but I definitely think it's too long. But you could also take something like oversets at 2.1, you know, because I think that is probably how it will play out. Is at least one very good or very very good set from Klijan, or one very bad set from Cilic. So yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, guys. The last word for World Cup, or he will not be with us next week, so he will join us in week 2. What do you expect from the first week? Do you expect many upsets?
I think it's going to be pretty chalky. There of the coin flip matches, there'll be some short dogs that come through, but it has felt like the general tour has done a decent job of kind of saving themselves up for this, if that makes sense. There really hasn't been a lot of guys kind of in the middle tier who have really pushed themselves hard through the North American swing. And a lot of times the upsets we see early rounds at the US Open on the men's side are guys who have just played a lot of tennis in the heat in North America in the months of July, August into September. So because we haven't really seen, you know, we've seen players in general on the ATP tour do a better job of kind of handling their schedule and not putting themselves through the ringer. I think it's going to be pretty chalky. One other look I forgot to mention though for round 1 that I think is maybe my favorite of all is Adrian Manarino upsetting Dan Evans. I think that's a wrong man favorite. I had Manarino at about a 55% chance to win. So if you're going to give me plus 120 on that, that's a look I like a lot. So that's about it, really.
Okay, we are finishing here. Thank you so much, guys. We will be back on Wednesday with the second round, on Friday with the third round, on Sunday with the fourth round, and so on. And on week 2, World Cupper will join us again for some great insights for the quarterfinals, semifinals, and final. Thank you, Snize. Thank you, James. Great to have you guys as always. And we will be back next week with Europa League, Champions League on Monday, La Liga, Bundesliga, Serie A on Tuesday, US Open on Wednesday, and UFC. You do the dance for every sport? Okay, we arrive right now at, I don't know. So on Friday all together with the US Open again. So thank you so much. Have a great weekend. Enjoy your bets and have a green US Open. I think that if you follow us, you will have it. Thank you, guys. Thank you for following. Thank you for watching. Thank you, guys, for being with me. Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys. See ya.